In today's video, I'm going to be looking at every GTA game and figuring out what the worst thing is from that game. So initially, I was actually going to be looking at some of these spin-off games, but eventually I sort of landed on the idea that maybe we should only look at the main entries and then do a separate video later on that. So thank you for clicking on this video. I do hope you enjoy. As usual, if you do, please consider leaving a like and subscribing. It would really help me out. And with that being said, let's have a look at our first game. So our first game is of course GTA 1, and a game that came out in the 90s, so there's not too much going on with this game, and I would say that this game is probably the only one in the series, aside from the next entry that we'll talk about in a sec, that has more negatives than it does positives. And the biggest negative for me for this game that I decided to go with was the controls. So I'm trying to make the option that I pick for the worst different for each game, and I think the controls were sort of the most unbearable in the first game. All of the games, all the way up until probably GTA 4, didn't have the best controls, but they really got to me in this game. I felt like things like aiming as well just weren't great. That sort of mixes with the controls really. The controls just weren't great. This game has a lot of negatives. The camera is not great, if I'm being completely honest. I'm not a big fan of it. I just didn't like it. It also felt different from GTA 2. I might be sort of crazy on that, but I'm pretty sure it was pretty different to GTA 2's camera. This one just made me feel dizzy at times. It was just a very strange choice, even though I understand that's probably what they had to do, just in terms of like technical limitations and stuff. So they didn't really have another choice really, but this game's worst aspect, at least to me, is the controls. But I think the gameplay and the camera overall were some other factors that weren't too great. But I'm going with controls on this one. So for GTA 2, it's a bit of an interesting one because when I make my video on the best part of every game, this will probably pop up for GTA 2, but it's sort of mixed for me, and that is all the different gangs and sort of the respect system in this game. I actually like the respect system. I don't actually mind that, but I feel like there was some random parts of this game that were just very annoying in relation to those gangs. There was some little like thieves that would always come up and just rob you. That was always very irritating to me. I don't really know why that was there. I will say though that they did improve this game quite a bit from GTA 1. Still probably the weakest entry aside from that first game, of course, but I do think that they improved it a bit. But there's still probably more negatives than positives here, just until they sort of improve their formula, which we'll see in the next entry. But I'd have to say that not the respect system, but the different gangs have their weaknesses and their strengths in the game. And I feel like the sort of thieves that would come up to you, I'm not actually too sure if they're part of a gang or if they're just sort of meant to be a random person mugging you. But either way, that was sort of the most annoying part of the game, at least to me, was just having your money stolen. Even though these early games, money was very easy to come by, it's still just annoying when you get robbed. Overall, I don't think GTA 2 has too many glaring issues like the first one, which is why it's a pretty minor one. So now let's move on to the next entry. Alright, so for GTA 3, this one was interesting because I'm sure a lot of people are expecting me to say there are people running around outside. Please shut up. GTA 3 is interesting because as I was saying before I was interrupted by children running up my street, is that you'd expect me to say that Claude can't talk. Our main character can't say anything. That's kind of a bit of an issue. And yeah, sure, but I'm actually not going with that here. I'm actually going with something that made me very mad, and it's the fact that when your car is on fire, you can't dip, you can't get out of the car. So like, cars are pretty weak in this game, so you get rammed a couple times, which the cops will do that. They will come at you, and your car gets tipped over or it's about to blow, and you literally just cannot get out. You get boxed in, and then you're just there, and you just basically give up because you know you can't get out. That sucks. That is, to me, the worst part about GTA 3 is how weak the cars are, and how as soon as they flip or as soon as you've been hit too many times, especially by cops, you just can't do anything. One thing I also want to mention that made me so mad is the difficulty of some of the missions. Some of the missions at the end of the game, which makes sense because it's the end of the game, but some of them are so annoying and feel like they were designed just to be annoying. And one small thing no one seems to mention, but it drives me crazy, is the bridge onto the third island that's always going up and down. I hate that bridge so much. There's so many missions towards the end of the game where I need to take that bridge and cops are after me, and then that bridge starts going up as I need to cross, and then a cop will just hit me into the water. That drove me so crazy, but that's a bit of a rant for another day. Let's move on to the next game. GTA Vice City is an awesome game. It's my favorite in the series, but there's definitely some issues with it. And the worst part about this game, at least to me, and this isn't actually specific to Vice City, but I found it to be the most annoying in Vice City, and it's how aggressive the cops are and how easily you can get busted in this game. So there were so many times that I'd be doing a mission, and missions in this game are very annoying. This game arguably, this is not an opinion that's shared by many people, but I find this game's missions to be the most annoying, but it's probably just because it's the game I've played the most. This game has some annoying missions, and I feel like 90% of the time when I finish a mission, it's not because of getting shot at by gang members or making a mistake. It's because I get stuck behind cars and then a cop comes up and then just throws me out of the car. As we know with these early games, when you get caught by cops, it's not like you can fight back. As soon as they pull you out of the car, you're busted and you failed the mission. So that was sort of my biggest issue with Vice City, is that there's so much traffic and the roads are pretty skinny. So, you try to go over to the other side of the road, there'll be a car there, you crash. And then there's always cops on foot in Vice City as well. Sorry if you heard that bird, very loud. There's always cops just walking on foot. So you can, run someone over and then a cop will be right behind you, chasing you, pull you out of the car, and then you're done. Also, as I sort of mentioned at the start, the cops are very aggressive too. If they're not on foot chasing you down while you're in a slow car to throw you out, they'll be in their car ramming you to try and get you to fall into the ocean, which is another issue with this game. You can't swim. That's the same with Claude from GTA 3. But overall, I feel like that's not the biggest issue in these games. It's just a sort of little annoying factor. But to me, Vice City, the most irritating thing is just how crazy the cops are. They do deserve a pay raise, I'm not going to lie, but they're very annoying. Now, San Andreas is a lot of people's favorite game. So what's the weakest part of that game? To me, the worst part about San Andreas is how goddamn glitchy it is. So I am actually playing this on the definitive edition, so you might be saying that it's not really fair to put it here because that's not the original, but the glitches I experienced in the definitive edition originated from the original game. Now, obviously, yeah, they should have fixed that, which it's depressing that they didn't, but still, the issue I had in the definitive edition, I also experienced in the original, so I'm going to be counting it here. There were so many missions that glitched out, and this is the case for all of those games, I feel, but San Andreas being such a big game, at least in comparison to Vice City and GTA 3, it glitched a lot. Like, a lot of the time I couldn't progress missions. There was this one mission that I'm sure a lot of you know, Burning Desire. This mission was crazy annoying to me because it kept glitching out every time I did it. Basically, what would happen in this mission is, for those who aren't aware, you have to run into a house, save a woman because the house is on fire, and then take her out, and then she basically becomes your girlfriend, basically. And what was annoying is that you have to take her obviously out the front door, but the front door just wouldn't open. Like, she just stayed in the house, and then I tried to get her out of the house, and then like by ramming the door, and then it just killed her. So it was very annoying. I did eventually figure it out, but there were so many other missions that would just glitch out and stop me from progressing. I had to sort of think outside the box because a lot of people also experienced this glitchy mission, but people found other means on how to do it. Some people were having glitches when they dropped her off at her house. So yeah, I couldn't find too much information, so I had to sort of think about it. So I want to know if you guys have played this mission. Let me know, did it glitch for you? Because it did for me every time. It was very annoying. But not just this mission, the whole game has a lot of glitches, I find. Doesn't stop it from being a great game, just makes it harder and a bit annoying at times. Alright, so GTA 4 is difficult for me because it's a game I haven't actually been able to get my hands on for at least a year now, unfortunately. So I have to sort of go with a popular opinion. Even though I don't hate it all that much, I do still see where people are coming from, and that's the driving. The driving in this game, as I remember, was very strange. It's definitely the weirdest driving in the series, not necessarily the worst, but as I remember, it was quite weird. It did take quite a bit of getting used to. To be quite honest, guys, I don't have too much to say about GTA 4. I feel like there's a lot of positives in this game, and I'm sure there's things way worse than the driving. Don't think I'm someone that just completely hates the driving. I'm not. It's just, unfortunately, I haven't been able to play this for ages, so I have to go with something that I know a lot of people dislike about it, and that has to be the driving. So let me know in the comments again, like if there's anything worse about GTA 4, because again, I haven't been able to play it for a while. So GTA 5 is actually a very, very random one that I'm sure none of you actually saw coming, but it is something that annoys me quite a lot, and it's something that I definitely think they should have improved. And it's the fact that the map is huge, but there's really not many places you can actually go into. So I'm talking about the story specifically. I know GTA Online added some more interiors, but for story mode specifically, there's actually not too many places that you can go into. So of course, you have like tattoo places, and you can play sports, and there's like some little shops that you can go into, but there's not much. Like, as I said, you can get your hair done, you can buy clothes, but that's really it. You can't, go into a cafe and eat, sort of like the older games like San Andreas, even Vice City to a smaller extent. You can still walk into pizza restaurants and get some food. That's not a thing in this game. There's really not much to do aside from driving around and doing the missions. Yeah, the map's huge, but for people that like role-playing games like myself, there's not too much to do aside from driving around, because you can't just act like a normal person in this game. Like, you buy clothes and then you go commit crime. So if that's good for you, that's awesome, but I feel like this game just isn't as good in terms of the role-playing elements, which is sort of strange considering it's the most recent game as of recording this. So with all that being said, everyone, we're actually done with the video. That's every game and what the worst thing is about it. If you did enjoy, please consider leaving a like and subscribing. If you watched to the end, thank you so much, and I hope you have a great day.